Hello friends, welcome to cpp5.com. Today we are going to peek into constructor overloading and default constructors and parameterized constructors. As you know, constructors are special functions which help in building objects from dust. A question arises now whether a constructor can be overloaded. The answer to that question would be yes. As they are functions and C++ supports function overloading, the constructors can be overloaded. Based on this feature, the constructor can be then divided into three different types. One is default constructor, the second one is parameterized constructor, and the third one is copy constructors. The first two types we will see in detail, and the third type is very important and elaborate, so I will make another video for explaining copy constructors in detail. Let's first see a default constructor. A default constructor is a constructor which does not have any parameters. It is called once you declare an object. Let's see a simple example of default constructor for a person class in the code. As you can see over here, I have created a class person which has three member variables: the first name, the last name, and the age. Now let's see a good example of a default constructor. Now this is nothing but a default constructor of this class. How we know it is it has the same name as that of the class and it has no parameters. Now inside the function definition, I have printed out that the default constructor is getting called, and I have assigned some initial values like blank to the first name, last name, and 0 to age. Now in order to see whether this default constructor is getting called when an object is created, in the int main I am creating an object of person1 for the class person. Let's see whether this calls the default constructor or not. So I'm compiling the code. It compiled properly. Now I'm running the code. As you can see over here, it printed out the default constructor called. So let's see now whether this default constructor which got called had initialized the member variables like first name as blank, the last name as blank, and age as 0 for this object person1. In order to do that, we need to have some more member functions over here. So here are some member functions. First one is to get the first name, the second one is to get the last name, and the third one is to get the age. And I have created a special function inside this person class which displays all the first name, last name, age on a go of this call itself, and you need not have to call this access specifier calls over here. So in order to see what is there inside your object person1, we just need to do person1 dot display person. Now let's compile the code. I'm compiling the code. It compiled properly. Now let's see what is the output. As you can see, for this person1, it initialized the first name to the blanks that I had initialized it to, the last name also the blanks which I initialized, and age is 0. So this is how we can use a default constructor. Now let's see what a parameterized constructor is. Now if you want to create an object by initializing its member variables while creation itself, then we need to go for parameterized constructor. For example, here say I'm creating another object person2 which takes in the name of first name as John, the second name as Smith, and his age is say 45, is quite old. And I want to create an object like this rather than initializing it and then assigning a new value. I just simply want to create like this. That can be achieved by a parameterized constructor. A parameterized constructor is nothing but a constructor with parameters. So we can see what it is over here. So we can define it like this. As you can see, I have the same name as that of the class, but it has three parameters: the first name, the last name, and the age. These are the inputs that are coming from the object call itself, like the first name, the last name, the age gets inserted over here, and then it should call the parameterized constructor over here, and here we are assigning to the this object the values that we have passed, like the n first name, n last name, and n age. Now after creating the person2, we want to see what is there in person2, so I'm just going to call the display person function again, person2 dot display person. Now let's compile this thing. It compiled properly. Let's run and see what's the output. As you can see, this is for the first person1 object, where it had initialized it to the initial values that I have given, and this is for the second object where I had given the parameters directly while object creation, and it has assigned the same values to the second person 2. Now here there is an interesting thing you can point out, that is, if we don't have a default constructor in this case, say I just remove this default constructor and then I compile, as you can see when I compile this, you got some errors saying that no matching function call for the for person1 over here. So here it couldn't identify any function call which has no parameters over here. That means if you don't provide a default constructor and you only have a parameterized constructor in your class, then you can't create objects like this. So you should be very careful. If you want to create objects like this, you should initialize a default constructor by yourself if you have some plans of having parameterized constructor for other creations like this. So we should keep this point in mind. When there is no constructor in the class, the compiler provides a default constructor. But if there is a parameterized constructor given by the user, then the compiler does not provide any default constructor. It should be provided explicitly by the user. That's all, folks. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Also, do let me know if you have any doubts or advices for me in the comment section below. Bye bye.